Hi everyone, today we're going to be on pages 18 and 19 in your lesson book. We're going to cover numbers 54 through 62 as a review of our last lesson. And before we jump right into the exercises, I wanted to mention a couple of things that might look new on this page. And so if you take a look at number 54, bowing the note G, you'll see that every single note has one of these two symbols over it. These are bow direction symbols, and we haven't seen them in the book yet because this book doesn't actually introduce using the bow until page 16. I jumped ahead a little bit. I didn't want you to wait until March to have to use your bow, and so I jumped ahead and added the bow early. But the book was didn't know that you were using the bow, and so it didn't have symbols like you were using the bow. So the good news is you've been doing these things all along, you just didn't know it. And so this first symbol right here, this is called a down bow symbol. When you see that over the note, that means that note will be a down bow, and a down bow means that you are moving from the frog towards the tip. Now, that doesn't mean that you necessarily use the whole bow. It means that you're moving in that direction. And so if I was going to play a down bow on the D string, I would move in this direction. Okay, another way to think about that is that your elbow is opening up as you're doing a down bow, right? You're moving away from your instrument. That is a down bow. It's a down bow. Looks like this on your higher string, and it looks like this on the lower string. Okay, so that is a down bow. It doesn't matter what direction. I don't know if you saw in that last one, my hand moved physically up in the air, but the down bow is directionally on the bow, okay? And then you could probably guess if this is down bow, this one is up bow, and up bow is the exact opposite of a down bow, so you're moving from the tip direction towards the frog. So an up bow on the D string would look like this. And generally, when we play music, we're going to just alternate back and forth, down, up, and that's what you've been doing this whole time without knowing. And if you take a look at number 54, you'll see that it just goes back and forth. Down, up, down, up, down, up. You never do two downs in a row, and you never do two ups in a row. That can't happen. It actually is going to happen later on this page. But in general, unless there is another marking or something that tells you otherwise, you're just going to go back and forth like we've been doing. The other thing is that on this page, there's a specific process that they want you to use. It's in the yellow box that says putting it all together. This whole page, for the most part, is just one-liners, 4 measures each. A couple of them are 2 lines, but they have this very specific process that they want you to go through for every exercise number. I'm modifying that a little bit because we have some former knowledge that they didn't know that you had, but here's what I want you to do for every exercise. I want you to say it, so say the notes, pluck it, pizzicato, and then play it with the bow. We're going to practice that for number 54. It will seem really silly because 54 is very easy. Most of you got it first try in your lesson. But I want you to see how this process works. And as we get to some of the harder ones, it's going to make a little bit more sense. Or you're going to see that this process works. It really works and makes it easier for you to learn some of the harder exercises. So we're looking at 54. Let's do the first step. Say it. Here we go. G, G, G. Rest, G, 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 rest, G, 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 rest. Okay, hopefully everyone got that and is comfortable with that. Now we're going to pluck it, do it pizzicato. So if you need to put fingers down, put your fingers down on the D string. Bass, obviously you're playing open G, but everyone else either has 3 or 4 fingers on the D string. And we're going to pluck it. Ready? Here we go. Rest. 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 All right. Finally, we're going to play it with the bow. Our first note, you can see, is marked as a down bow. So we're going to set our bow on the string and be ready to move in that direction, moving towards the tip with our bow on a down bow. So here it is with the bow. 1, 2, ready, here we go. Rest. 155, back and forth. I'm going to let you pause the video to say it. All right, and now that you're back, you should have noticed that this has two different notes in it. We have G's and F sharps, and we're going back and forth between them. Probably why they call the exercise back and forth. So let's play it pizzicato, setting down any fingers you need for the note G. 1, 2, ready, and here we go. G, G, G. Now F, back to G, F, G, F, G. Good. See, I'm only taking my finger off a little bit. You don't need to take it all the way off or it's going to be hard to put it back down. Here we go with the bow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Press. Press. Good. Excellent. 55, down and up. Go ahead and pause and say your notes. And you should have found that now we've added another note. We have G's, F sharps, and E's. And so I'm actually going to skip ahead. I would like you to pause and do the pizzicato. So go ahead and take a minute right now to do the pizzicato. And now I'm going to play it, just to kind of keep things moving here a little bit because we have a lot to cover. All right? So 56 with the bow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest. 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 Awesome. All right. 57. There's a lot going on in 57. I actually think this might be the most challenging of all the homework this week. The first thing we should do, let's go through and we'll say it together because I know there's a lot of notes here. So we're going to read our notes from the beginning. E, 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 D, E, 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 F sharp, G, 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 F sharp, E, 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 rest. And then you see there is a repeat sign at the end of this one. So that's going to come into play in a minute because there's something special that happens in number 57. What I'd like you to do is pause, make sure that you can play this whole thing pizzicato, make sure you have the notes down, and then I'll go over the special thing that we have to worry about when we add bowing. So go ahead and pause and play this pizzicato. All right, now that we're back, if we were to play this through with the bow right now, we would run into a little bit of a predicament when we got to the retake. Not to the retake, I'm sorry, I jumped the gun there. When we got to the repeat, okay? I'm going to play from the beginning, starting on a down bow. And by the way, you'll notice there isn't a bowing symbol over every note. This is much more typical to what it would look like. Maybe the first note of the line or of the phrase would have a bow direction to make sure you're on track. But normally there is not a direction over every note because that makes it look cluttered. So this, number 57, is closer to what music might look like as we move forward. But I'm going to play from the beginning. Now, I'm about to repeat. I just played a down bow. That was how the last note, how it worked out. And then when I repeat, the first note of the line says down bow. I am not in the position to play another down bow. So I need to do what the book calls a bow lift, but what I, for the rest of the time you play, I'm going to refer to as a retake. A retake. And a retake means that you just did a down bow and you need to do another one. So you're going to pick your bow up and place it down to do another down bow. So a retake is something we do in preparation to play, but there's no sound. So the retake, again, looks like this. And then you keep playing. So you can see over that rest, it does say bow lift in parentheses, but the retake or bow lift symbol is an apostrophe. So when you see that apostrophe, that means do a retake. Get back to the frog and ready to do a down bow. All right. We did go over that in class, and we will go over it again next class because that's something new that comes up all the time as you're playing. One other thing you might have noticed is that all of these exercises start down bow, and a lot of students picked up on that and said, does music always start down bow? And the answer is about 90% of the time it does. There are times when it would start up bow, and we will get to those later, but those tend to be situations where you're like in a special circumstance because you have something going on and there's a reason to start up bow. But in general, the music that we're playing right now will always start down. I am going to skip number 58 because, as you can see, it is just high D's. So 3 fingers on A for violins and violas, 4 fingers on A for cello, and then that third position highest note that we know their basses. So I'm going to skip that. And I'm also going to skip 59 because that's just D, high D's and C sharps. But let's move to 60, elevator down. These are some of the harder ones where saying the notes ahead of time really can be beneficial. So let's say our notes for number 60. High D, C sharp, high D, C sharp, C sharp, C sharp, B, A, B, B, A, A, rest. Let's do them pizzicato. Okay, this is all on the A string. Unless you're a bass, then it's all on the G string. Okay, setting our fingers down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest. Rest. Okay, and then with the bow, setting fingers down for high D, ready, and here we go. All right, awesome. 61 is very similar. It uses the same notes and is all on the A string or G if you're bass. I'm going to leave that one for you to do by yourself again because I think it's a good challenge to be able to do some by yourself and figure them out on your own. And I'm also going to leave you with 62, down the D major scale. You may recognize this. This actually was an exercise several pages ago. So it's kind of a repeat. It's a review of something we've done. But remember, the D major scale is going from one D and playing every note in between until you get to another D. This is going backwards. So it starts with high D, and you play everything backwards until you get to open D. And so by the time you're done, by the end of this week, you should be feeling really confident with all of the notes in the D major scale, all the notes we've learned so far. So open D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and high D. So all 8 of those notes, you should be comfortable reading them and playing them. And next week we'll review some of these, and then we will also keep going, finish up page 19, and then start to do some new stuff as well. So good luck going through these, have fun with them, and we'll see you at your next lesson.